podcast is part of the Sports Social Podcast Network.
Hi, I'm Marion Franklin, a GB canoe slalom athlete.
Yeah, I'm Joe Clark. I am the Olympic champion from Rio 2016.
I'm Joe Fraser, Team GB gymnast.
Hey, my name's Emma Wilson. I'm a windsurfer. I'm really happy to be selected for Team GB for Paris 2024.
This is Anything But Footy, the Olympic and Paralympic podcast covering the games all the time, rather than once every 4 years. I'm John.
And I'm Michael. We are en route for Paris, and in this episode we are joined by an Olympic champion and multiple world champions. Big lineup today, John.
Yeah, very big indeed. Yes, coming up, we're diving into another Team GB announcement. You'll have heard Tom Daley is back, but another big name is in the British diving team for Paris 2024.
It is just the same 6 dives against the same people on the same boards. It's just that there's a couple of rings on the wall. It's just that those rings mean so much more than a regular competition.
Jack Law and the team to come.
We have in the past discussed the possibility of the Winter Olympics being held in one permanent venue. But should world-class sport move around the globe or stay in the same place every year? I asked the new World Snooker Champion that question, and I put it to a couple of legends too.
Yes, I think the ball at the Crucible in the last couple of weeks. Talking of which, British athletics made it 5 out of 5 relay teams heading to Paris 2024.
I've told you before, I'll say it again, I've got a thing for sporting events that last 17 days. And in our other news from the games, we round up the headlines, including Judo, BMX, Gymnastics. Oh, and we've got the official music for Paris 2024 too.
Stay in touch with us. We're going to play DJ and see what we're about anytime. Anything But Footy on social media or through the website anythingbutfooty.com. So the Olympic flame is now safely in France and the build-up gathers pace for Paris. 1,000 boats and 150,000 people came to see the start of the torch relay in Marseille. Some amazing scenes with the flotilla coming into the old port. I'm told it's the first time that the flame has arrived by boat to a host nation ever. Which, when you think about it, the torch relay's been going for 60, 70 years. That's quite an achievement in itself. Now, 10,000 torchbearers will crisscross France and overseas territories through more than 450 towns and covering 17,000 kilometres until the Olympic opening ceremony gets underway on Friday, July 26th. If that is not in your head right now, it needs to be, and we can't wait for that.
I'm actually jealous. I'm jealous of the French getting to host the games this time around because I just, seeing those pictures and seeing that flotilla and seeing the torch arrive, it just brought it all back for me. Just what a special kind of moment in time London 2012 was. And I just hope Paris and Parisians and the French people enjoy it and have a similar kind of level of pride in what they're going to host in the summer.
Yeah.
Anyway, Team GB have spent another week announcing new names, some old, some new, none blue. That sums up the British diving team. Team GB have so far named 8 divers for Paris, so it's the 4 pairs who will compete in the 4 synchro events. Now, we didn't get to speak to Tom Daley because he was travelling between Los Angeles and Paris, where there is a test event taking place at the moment, but he is in the team. It is confirmed he will dive in his 5th Olympic Games. I'm sure we'll get to chat to him between now and Games time. He will be competing alongside Noah Williams, who we'll hear from in a moment. And amazingly, for a synchro pair, they don't actually train together. Tom trains on his own at UCLA, and Noah trains on his own in London. And then pretty much they come together, do their dives in competition. It's an amazing thing. They are going to be, as I said, at that test event in Paris together. Then I think Noah will spend a little bit of time with Tom just honing a few things before the games. But first up, I have had the pleasure of knowing this guy for a little while now. In fact, he has a leisure centre named after him in Ripon, I think it is, in North Yorkshire. The first ever gold medalist in diving alongside Chris Mears in Rio. He is Olympic champion Jack Law, taking part in his 4th Olympic Games. And in Paris, he will be paired up with Anthony Harding, who's making his Olympic debut in the 3-metre synchro. Well, congratulations to you both. Another Olympics for you, Jack. So I'll start with you. Going again, Games number 4. When you set out, I can't imagine you thought 4 Olympic Games you would still be there as a real contender.
Yeah, no, of course. It's been a long time, and at the London pool right now. So it's yeah, it's funny actually. Been 4 Olympics now. It's not what I thought was going to happen when I was a kid, definitely, but I'm so glad that I'm here, and it's obviously massive testament to myself, but obviously also the people around me that I've got, the teams, the people that work hard to keep me in shape, my coaches and everyone to get me in the best quality that I can be to go to another Olympic Games and hopefully hit hard.
Anthony, what's it feel like to you to be officially named today?
I couldn't have done it without Jack, to be honest. And I've been thinking that training alongside these people since I was 16, these Olympians, push you to give you the hope that you will make it one day. But the belief that I've had since I was 6 years old is I think, made me where I am now. And I couldn't be more happier.
How much do you lean on Jack for advice, both in terms of competition and everything else that's going to be going on around what will feel like a proper Olympic Games with people in the venue and everything again this time?
He's just told me like it's just like another competition. So I'm kind of going into it thinking it's just another competition. I've done a lot in my time, so it's hopefully not going to be too daunting, too scary, but at the same time, I can't wait to be out there and I can't wait to soak it all in and enjoy myself.
Jack, it's nice to hear you say it's just like another competition, but there is something special about going to an Olympic Games, isn't there?
Yeah, no, of course, there's obviously a lot of different things tied to it than maybe there would be for a normal competition, but it's not Anthony's first multi-sport games. We had the ability to do Birmingham, and that was a home games as well, and I think there's probably potentially more pressure on that one than there would be at the Olympics. You know, it's we're going to have some GB fans there, and we're going to have friends and family, but the crowd, obviously, when we were in Birmingham, was mega, and it was just for us basically. So we've had a lot of good experience, and the competitions we've done this year have been cracking. And really, when you boil it all down, it is just the same 6 dives against the same people on the same boards. It's just that there's a couple of rings on the wall. It's just that those rings mean so much more than a regular competition. So yeah, it is the same, but it's also different. And I think it's okay to accept that it is different. I think that, you know, you should enjoy it and you should take it for what it is. But at the end of the day, it's just 6 dives, the same as we do every time.
And Jack, it's been a tough qualification for you guys as well, hasn't it? With things like injuries, of course. But you're there. It has been a difficult build-up, though.
Yeah, no, of course. I think that it's been, if we reflect on it, it has been challenging, but actually parts of it have been easy. We qualified the first time round, which is great. We have pretty much all of our competitions we've done, we've been in and around, or well, mainly on the medal podium. We've been doing some good, consistent diving, which is really a massive take home. But yeah, it's obviously, I've had a few injuries here and there. We've had a few not so great competitions, but I think that's just sport. And like I said in my first statement, I've got a great team around me that's keeping me in one piece. And you know, me and Anthony are looking great at the moment. And it's looking very hopeful. And
final question then from me to you, Anthony. I mean, has he shown you his medals, and how much do you want one for your own collection from an Olympic Games?
Yeah, I haven't seen him in a while, but like Jack said, we are very hopeful. But I think one thing that has maybe let me down in the past is thinking it's over when it's not, and thinking I've achieved it before I have. And I think if I keep level-headed, I think we're more likely to.
Jack Law and Anthony Harding, hopeful was the phrase, and they should be, because it's been a great week, being named on Monday for Team GB and then on Wednesday diving in the new aquatic centre in Paris and winning gold in the diving test event there as well in the 3-metre synchro. So congratulations to them.
Just want to say one thing about Jack, just a conversation that we had that we didn't record, if you like, so you didn't hear it there, but yeah. He was just saying to me how happy he feels and how contented he feels at the moment, because he's had some very challenging times, certainly through mental health as well, and he was just saying that he feels in a completely different place mentally this time going into these games as to how he felt going into the Tokyo Games. And as we said, I've known Jack for a long time. He's given up a lot of time to me for various projects and interviews and chats over the years as well. So, yeah, just wanted to say how delighted, I think, on a personal level, I am that Jack feels so good going into these games. And as you say, congrats to them. We wish them well.
Yes, in the women's 3-metre synchro, double world championship medalists Yasmin Harper and Scarlett Mew Jensen have also been selected. Yasmin making her Olympic debut, Scarlett having been to Tokyo. But as we know, these games will be entirely different from that experience.
Andrea Spendolini-Syriacs, or Andy, as Lois Tolson, her synchro partner, calls her, have created history by winning the first World Championship medals for British women in diving. And the 10-metre synchro pair will be hoping for another record-breaking summer. It's a second Games already for Andrea, who's 19 years of age. She did reach the individual final in Tokyo as well. And it is a third Olympic Games for 24-year-old Lois Tolson, who told me it's great to be back with Team GB.
It feels just a special this time round, even though, it is the third time, which feels crazy. I feel like I'm not old enough to be going to my third Olympics. But no, super special and, very excited.
You do have a number of medals, Commonwealth Games, European medals, World Championship medals. How much does it burn inside you to have an Olympic medal?
Yeah, I mean, that's always been the ultimate goal. And I think it definitely is possible. Me and Andy know it is, so we're just working as hard as we can. Our previous competitions have kind of proved to us that we definitely belong up there. Just put in as much hard work in as we can to, hopefully put us in the best position possible.
And how much confidence do you take from getting a medal at the World Championships with Andrea?
Yeah, definitely quite a lot. I mean, I think we were the first women in British diving to ever get on that world podium. So I think that set us up with a lot of confidence, knowing that we definitely can do this. And I think the partnership between me and Andy is going really well. We have like a really good, solid relationship and foundation that I think that's what's allowed us to get onto them podiums.
Do you have to be friends to be successful in a synchro partnership?
Yeah, I think so. It definitely makes it easier. Like when you watch it just looks like two people diving at the same time, but there's a lot of like trust and a lot behind the scenes that goes into that relationship and kind of just being present and being able to trust each other. So I think we've definitely got that.
And finally from me, Games number 3 for you. You're still in your young 20s. Tom Daley's going for Games number 5. Do you envisage that one day you'll be on your 5th Olympic Games?
I'm not sure about that. I think I'll just happy to carry on as long as I enjoy diving, and at the moment I'm probably in a position where I'm enjoying it the most I have in a long time. So just enjoying the moment. And
enjoying having Tom back on the team with you after his break?
Yeah, definitely. He's always nice to have on the team. And he was always there when I was like first joined the team back in like 2016. So it is nice to have him back, and he is like the dad of the group with all his dad jokes and stuff. But yeah, he's really good to have back.
Thank you so much, Lois.
Thank you.
Lois Tolson, and Michael, of course, speaking to her there about Tom Daley. We haven't really mentioned him that much yet in this podcast, but he is a total and utter legend, and everyone already, of course, knows he's in the team. 16 years on from making his Olympic debut in Beijing, Daley will be 30 at the time of Paris in competing in his 5th Olympics. And he's aiming, of course, for his 5th medal. I was actually writing the list down, what he'd won. I'd actually kind of forgotten that he'd won some bronzes. He won in London, of course, in Rio, in Tokyo. And, of course, he's defending the men's 10-metre synchro title he won with Matty Lee in Tokyo as well. Now, this time in Paris, Noah Williams is his synchro partner in his 2nd Olympics, and the double Commonwealth champion from Birmingham as well. And Michael caught up with Noah as he was named by Team GB.
It means a lot. I mean, I didn't do too good last time, so hopefully I get to redeem myself this time. No, it's obviously the biggest competition we have, so qualifying is insanely hard anyway because Team GB is so good in diving right now. The depth we have is pretty good, so just to qualify is like sometimes harder than the actual competition. Probably not this time, but it means a lot to me.
You reflected obviously on Tokyo. This will be a very different Olympics, as we know, for various and obvious reasons. How are you preparing for that?
I'm not doing too much. I mean, the no fans in Tokyo, I think, had a massive effect on why I didn't do too good. So I think this is just more, I guess, of a norm for us. Obviously, not as this having this many fans. I don't really know how big the pool is, but it's normal for us to have people there. So I'm just gonna be able to enjoy it a lot more, and hopefully that will reflect in my diving.
And clearly there'll be a spotlight on you because of who you dive with as well. And do you have to prepare separately for everything that goes on around the partnership of Noah and Tom?
No, it's easy. Everyone just cares about Tom, which is fine by me. Like, I like at a few competitions, the interviewers just say, like, one guy was like to me, he was like, "Oh no, I'm just gonna ask the questions to Tom," and I said, "Hey, go ahead." So I get to just relax in the corner. I get to just chill, and he does all the media stuff. Normally, he's in LA today. That's why you guys are with me.
Well, it's great to speak to you. I was going to ask where he is.
Yeah, no, he lives in LA, but he's flying right now. He's on a plane to Paris because we leave tomorrow for competition. So yeah, I'm lucky you don't get him. Maybe next time.
Talk us through the partnership, because obviously he took quite a substantial break after the last Olympics. So you're relatively new together.
Yeah, insanely new. Nobody else in the world could take 2 years out and then come back and be as good as he is. So first of all, like that's insanely good anyway. But I think because he lives in America, we've really not been able to train much. We had like 2 weeks in November, and then apart from that, we've just done the competitions. Like he turns up in China where we were like 2 weeks ago, or in Berlin, and we just have that 1 week to train. So we haven't really done too much training. It's just kind of come naturally, but sometimes it's better that way. It's like you don't have to change a lot. You just get to I get to do my individual dive next to him, and then if it looks good together, well, at the moment it's been that way. It helps, yeah.
It works. It's not challenging for you.
Yeah, exactly. The more natural it is, the better, I guess. Instead of making massive changes, and then it doesn't look fluid. And that's diving is obviously all about aesthetics, so it seemed to be working so far.
What's he like?
Oh, I love Tom. He's a funny guy. I actually prefer how he is off camera. He's a different guy, I think. But that's my opinion. But I like him a lot. We get on, and I think that's also a main thing. There's no point doing these competitions and get so far. We've got a few medals together. There's no point doing that if I don't like the person I'm next to. So I want to enjoy it while I'm not going to be able to dive forever. My body's already hurting, so I don't know how he's doing this. But no, yeah, I love him.
And from your point of view, are you able to lean on his experience, the experience with people like Jack Law, who's going for a fourth games, for example? I know this is your second, but those are guys that have gold medals in their trophy cabinet.
Yeah, definitely. I'd say more so on Tom, just because we do obviously the same event. Springboard is like really, it's almost like a different sport. Like obviously it's not, but like the technique and all the mental stuff they do is like completely different. But yeah, I'm definitely able to lean on Tom a lot. And obviously, as we're doing synchro, he's like helping me a lot more, because last Olympics, even though we're both there together, I was competing against him. And this time we're competing together. So he gives me a lot of advice. And if it helps him out too. So I'm sure he'll give me some stuff to work on.
And a medal together at the World Championships, but going to Paris for gold?
I'll try my best. China's pretty good. And when I say pretty good, they're like robots. It's like Erling Haaland in football. I don't know how he does it. But Tom's obviously that good as well. So it's just on me. Now I feel pressure.
Noah Williams and his Chinese competitor, the Erling Haaland of football. Like robots on the diving board was the description there, Michael. I think that might come in handy for you when you're on TalkSport this summer. And our coverage, of course, that we'll be doing with them throughout the summer. Just on diving, Great Britain have won 2 gold, 3 silver medals and 8 bronzes in the Olympics. 6 of them in the last 2 games, 3 in Tokyo, 3 in Rio. And I'm sure that Aquatics GB will be hoping for history with a first British women's medal as well. Good luck to all of them competing, and no doubt we'll have more Team GB team announcements to come in the weeks to come. Now, coming up, we talk sporting venues, but first some other news from the Games.
All 5 of the British Athletics men's and women's relay teams have booked their places in Paris 2024 after a brilliant weekend in the Bahamas. I don't mean the sunshine, the beaches, the warmth, the food, the nightlife. No, I mean the World Athletics Relays, which saw the fastest men and women in the world compete in the 4x1 and 4x4 and the mixed relays. In an inexperienced sprint relay team, Alison Bell, Amy Hunt, Bianca Williams, Aaliyah Sibbons, the British women won bronze behind the US and France in the 4x100 metres final. World Athletics CEO John Ridgen also revealed plans for a mixed 4x100 metre. Remember, they do have a mixed 4x400. He said, "We are this year looking into testing this concept. We think that mixed athletics could be the future."
Interesting. Now, British women, without Jessica Gadarova, of course, and Ondaina Champong, were silver stars at the European Gymnastics Championships. Becky Downey, Alice Kinsella, Abigail Martin, Ruby Evans and Georgia May Fenton came second behind Italy, but ahead of Paris 2024 hosts France in Rimini at the weekend. Alice also won all-round bronze, and Georgia May came third in the uneven bars.
Emma Reid and Kelly Peterson-Pollard both bagged medals for British Judo at the Tajikistan Grand Slam, the penultimate event of the Paris Olympic qualification window. 4th seed Reid came through the repechage to win a bronze, her second time on a Grand Slam podium, having won the gold at the Abu Dhabi Grand Slam in 2021. Peterson-Pollard secured her 4th career Grand Slam bronze medal. There were also 5th place finishes for Natalie Powell and Jemima Yates-Brown. Remember, judo is a big, big sport in France, and I have high hopes for the British judokas.
And current Olympic and world champion Beth Shriver and Tokyo silver medalist Kai White are in an 11-strong British cycling team for the BMX Racing World Championships. The event is the final major before the Paris Olympics, and it takes place in Rock Hill, South Carolina on May 17th and 18th.
We started with the Olympic flame arrival in Marseille, and during that ceremony, the official musical theme of the Olympic and Paralympic Games has been revealed. It's called Parade. It was composed by Victor le Masne and will be played throughout the games at competition venues as well. Very anthemic. I think we might be sick of it by the end of the summer, though. It has got us thinking, and we have put together a little Olympics playlist. It's available now on Spotify to get you in the mood to go faster, higher and stronger. It's called Olympics Music by Anything But Footy. There's a link on the homepage of this episode. Do let us know if you want us to add something there, or whether we've included one of your favourites already.
Is your favourite in it?
I like the John Williams Summon the Heroes music that has been used, I think, since Atlanta 96, might actually date back to LA 84. But yeah, I think that's the sort of rousing sort of anthemic music that gets me in the mood for the Olympics.
I've got 2 on there that are my personal favourites.
Spandau Ballet.
No. Gloria Estefan.
Reach
from 96. Yeah, Atlanta. The NBC coverage and the drums on that are just absolutely incredible. And I said to my son, listen to this bit. And he went, Dad, we'd listen to the whole song. The best bit's right at the end. I went, yep. It's often the way with music. And obviously the other one is Chariots of Fire by Vangelis. And it's 100 years, isn't it? Since Paris 24. Now, obviously that music was written 100 years ago, but it was written for the film that was all about Paris 1924.
Yeah, I think that'll probably be on our TV screens, that film, in the build-up to the games this summer.
This is Anything But Footy, the Olympic and Paralympic podcast, as Michael said. Tell us your favourite and check out the playlist on Spotify. And stay with us as we discuss permanent sporting venues next.
This is Anything But Footy. We're en route to the Paris Olympic Games.
And as we said earlier, only one new venue has been built for Paris 2024, the Aquatic Centre. We've already had British success in there, as mentioned. And of course, we love the Olympic Park, Michael, don't we, in London? Yep. Still providing a home for Olympic and Paralympic sport. But Michael has been at the snooker this past fortnight, and it has been dominated by the fact that whether it should stay at the Crucible. And it got me thinking, isn't it slightly odd that a World Championship stays in the same place every year?
Yeah, it was very much the discussion for the 17 days of the World Snooker, the future for the World Championship and the Crucible Theatre. And I heard argument and counter-argument numerous times. I think the feeling generally is that they would like to keep the event in Sheffield, but the Crucible Theatre has a capacity of around about 960, and the feeling is it's just not big enough for the game that snooker has become, the sport that snooker has become. There's been conversations about whether you could redevelop the Crucible, and many people obviously talk about the Crucible being to snooker what Wimbledon is to tennis, Lord's is to cricket. The difference there is you go to Lord's now and you go to Lord's back in 1977, and you're entering a completely different building. You go to Wimbledon now and you go back to Wimbledon in 1977, it's a completely different building. You go to the Crucible now, and when they first went there in 1977, and it's the same building. Yeah. And, you know, there just isn't the space in Sheffield, the way the Crucible is sort of hemmed in by a historic theatre, a plaza, and a main road around sort of three of its sides. There just isn't that space, that opportunity to develop it in the same way that Wimbledon have been able to develop their facilities, the way Lord's have been able to develop. Wembley, you know, was knocked down and redeveloped. So I think that's the only way I think you could see the Crucible Theatre. I think there's been lots of discussion, and I know it's something that you've been thinking about a lot. Just, you know, maybe start rotating it, take it around the world. China would seem an obvious place. I think the one thing all the snooker players would say is that wherever it goes, wherever it's hosted, they just want the fact that the crowds are there, the seats are full, and there's an atmosphere. Kyron Wilson won his first World Snooker Championship title at the Crucible Theatre in Sheffield late on Bank Holiday Monday. He beat qualified Jack Jones 18-14 in the final. And he spoke to me afterwards for Talk Sport about that debate over the future of the hosting of the World Championships. And he told me it was special to win at the Crucible.
That was actually on my mind. I was actually watching one of the previews in the practice room on the screens, I think with Steve Davis. And he was talking about, you know, if it goes, it wouldn't be as special, and people dream of winning it at the Crucible. So, yeah, it was sort of really high on the agenda to make sure that I won it here.
That's the new World Snooker Champion, Kyron Wilson. Also, I had the opportunity whilst I was in Sheffield to speak to former champions Steve Davis, Stephen Hendry and me. 13 world titles between us.
It's a very special place for us all. The venue has been good to us, and the city has been good to us over the years, and there's an air of excitement that I still think surrounds the Crucible, and people know it's on. It wasn't the first wave in the 80s was when there was a lot more excitability in the game, but now we have a truly worldwide game, and Sheffield has become a pilgrimage site for snooker fans. And I think we probably get more fans from around the world now that come here for their very first experience at the Crucible, and they're excited. And maybe the people of Sheffield have got used to it over the years, but it's a place to come where the butterflies in the stomachs for not just the players who are playing in it, but the people that work on it and the fans is at its best, I think.
Does it have to stay here, in your opinion?
No, it doesn't have to stay here, but I don't see the reason not to keep it here, as long as the game doesn't outgrow the venue size. And in an ideal world, I think I've come to the conclusion that I'd like to see at least the size of the Masters, which is 2,000 people, that befits a World Championship, and I think it needs a size of a venue, 2,000. Would be ideal, because then you've got an incredible atmosphere. It would mean making the Crucible bigger, or risk one day the powers that be within the game saying, look, we need to grow the game for the good of not just the game worldwide, but also the players, that they deserve a bigger venue to play, you know, the absolute flagship event.
Do you think snooker has a responsibility, though, maybe to go to places to grow the game, whether that is Saudi Arabia, whether that is China, whether that's the USA, for example?
Absolutely. I'm completely in agreement with that. Taking the sort of crown jewels of the tour straight away might not be the thing to do. But as I say, it wouldn't be straight away, because there's 3 years left at the Crucible here. So, eventually, my only fear would be if you're playing the World Championship and there's not a full crowd and you've not got that Crucible atmosphere that you get especially when it's one table, it's just it's a special atmosphere, and it's not so much being in the media now, a pundit and commentator. But if I was a player, I always wanted to play in the greatest atmospheres, and this place has that.
Do you think we could do for the Crucible what Wembley did when they redeveloped, what Centre Court at Wimbledon have done, where they put a roof on and developed this as a venue to make it fit for purpose?
You probably wouldn't be able to make this big. I don't know. I think it's a pretty old building. There's not a lot of space to make it bigger. But I think anything to alter this place would change it for the worse. Because the fact that it's less than 1,000 people in that cauldron. It's just made for snooker, basically, and nowhere will ever replace it. Nowhere.
So Stephen Hendry and Steve Davis before that talking to Michael, and great to hear Karen Wilson as well. So, Michael, you've mentioned Wimbledon, you've mentioned Lords, you've mentioned Wembley in the same phrase as the Crucible. Wimbledon doesn't hold world championships. It's effectively the UK Championship of Great Britain, effectively. Wembley hosts the FA Cup. It's not a world championship. Lords, I think they had one World Cup there, but it's not there all the time. Even American obsessed with its own sports, the Super Bowl changes location all the time. It's not just in one place. And we mentioned about the Winter Olympics earlier. We thought, maybe there would be one location for the Winter Olympics, but I see that the IOC have been visiting the French Alps and Salt Lake City for the next Winter Games in 2030 and 2034, and they say they're on track. We're impressed by the quality of facilities that are available. So isn't it odd that snooker is in one place? And if you want to be a worldwide sport, as a world championship, you should move it around. I agree that Sheffield could be one of the venues, but if you take it out of the Crucible, which you were saying earlier is the only really option, why would it be in Sheffield?
I think the difference there is that tennis is a truly global game. Cricket is a global game. When you talk about Lord's, football, of course, is a global game. Snooker traditionally hasn't been a global game. I mean, if you look at overseas winners in the Crucible era, you've got Ken Doherty from the Republic of Ireland in 1997. You've got Cliff Thorburn before that back in 1980 from Canada. You've got Neil Robertson from Australia. I mean, it's been a tournament, a championships that's been dominated by players from this country. Of course, Luca Brissell was the first winner from mainland Europe last year, from Belgium, of course. But now we have another English winner in Karen Wilson. It's just not got hasn't had that same global appeal. It's happening. We remember, obviously, players like James Watanabe from Thailand. We thought he might become the first player from Asia to win the World Championships. We've seen Ding Junhui in a final, and the game is huge in China, as we know. We had an Iranian qualifier this time around. So, there are little pockets of snooker. It's huge in South America in places. It's huge in Germany. But there just hasn't been that glass ceiling that's been broken consistently enough, I think, to merit taking it on the road before. But I think maybe now is the time for those serious conversations.
Yeah, because that's the whole argument, isn't it? That if you want to grow it, then you need to move it around, because ultimately, I mean, you said about your passion for 17-day sporting events, and it's great. It's in Sheffield. It's really I wonder, we've just got our British glasses on, and it's like, well, we want it to stay here, and it's not going anywhere. Now, I can understand that argument with the British Grand Prix in Silverstone, which I can remember covering when I was working on LBC for years on end, whether Silverstone was going to retain it, blah, 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 blah. But that was the British Grand Prix. Again, this is the World Snooker Championship. Yeah, but I also agree that if it got moved to China, if you're the BBC, are you going to spend 3 sessions a day putting that on when effectively it's overnight?
Yeah. My final sort of thought on this, I mean, the other place that has been mentioned as a potential host is Saudi Arabia, and saw all the branding around the Crucible for Saudi Arabia yes. and Riyadh. And I think the concern is that they take the money and go to Saudi Arabia, and there's big money on the table. And Ronnie O'Sullivan has, been named as an ambassador now for snooker in Saudi Arabia, but you just don't create the same kind of atmosphere at the tournament. I think the players would be terrifically well looked after. They would be terrifically well remunerated, but I just don't think as an event it would have that same feeling as the Crucible. What snooker needs to do, if they do go to Saudi Arabia is they need to tell their story better than what golf has done and live golf. You know, sport takes place in Saudi Arabia all the time. Triathlon has gone to Saudi Arabia. Boxing has gone to Saudi Arabia. They have not had the same spotlight that the golfers have had. The perception is the golfers have been greedy, and what snooker needs to make sure when they do go to Saudi Arabia and play tournaments there, which is inevitable, that they don't tell the same story that golfers had, and that perception that they're just there greedy taking the money.
So when we finished our special podcast about the Commonwealth Games, you asked me the very hard question of, will the Commonwealth Games be coming to Glasgow in 2026? Will the World Snooker Championships, at the end of its 3-year contract, leave Sheffield?
No. I think it will stay. I think it will be extended for another short period. I think we'll get to the 50th anniversary, but I think inevitably at some point in the future it will move away.
Interesting stuff, and Michael will be there, of course, next year. Well, as always, you can check out our socials, Anything But Footy. Great pictures of the Crucible, and a few of Michael celebrating with the trophy as well, I think I might have spotted. So Anything But Footy on the usual socials. You can check out our latest blogs and our 2024 sporting calendar. There's plenty more to come on our website, anythingbutfooty.com. And don't forget the Spotify Olympics music playlist as well, which is brand new on Spotify from Anything But Footy. And stay with us. We're en route to Paris 2024, the Olympics and Paralympic Games.
Sports Social Podcast Network.